My 8-year-old daughter was placed in foster care by my parents, while they went to Hawaii with my sister's kids. The note said, "Sorry, sweetie, we just couldn't take care of her." I didn't shout. I just filed a quiet report. The next morning there was a loud knock on their hotel door. My daughter wasn't at home. Her shoes were gone. Her backpack was missing. Her stuffed bunny lay abandoned on the floor. And on the kitchen counter sat a folded note, written in my mother's handwriting. "Sorry, sweetie, we just couldn't take care of her." That was it. No explanation. No apology. Just a sentence that shattered everything. I didn't sit down. I didn't scream. I walked straight to her room hoping, irrationally, that maybe she was hiding under the bed. But the room was too neat. Her toothbrush was gone. Her pajamas weren't in the laundry basket. They'd taken her. And they hadn't even packed her comfort toy. I called the foster agency listed on the fridge magnet. The woman on the line was calm, but her voice carried a weight. "She's safe," she said. She asked about her bunny. I closed my eyes. "Did she cry?" I asked. There was a pause. She was quiet. She kept asking if she did something wrong. I thanked her and hung up. Then I sat on the edge of the bed, bunny in hand, and stared at the wall. My daughter was 8. She loved dinosaurs, hated broccoli, and once told me she wanted to be a scientist so she could make people better. And now she was in foster care because my parents decided she didn't fit into their vacation plans. They'd gone to Hawaii with my sister's kids. Left mine behind. Like luggage. Like clutter. I didn't call them. I didn't send a message. I opened my laptop and pulled up the folder I'd kept for years. Inside were photos, emails, and a printed copy of a message my sister once sent me. "Mom says your kid is a handful. Maybe she needs professional help." I'd saved it. Just in case. I filed a report with Child Services. I attached the note. I listed every incident. Every time they'd excluded her. Every time they'd made her feel like an inconvenience. I didn't exaggerate. I didn't dramatize. I just told the truth. I knew the system wouldn't move fast. But I also knew they were out of state. That gave me time. That night I made her favorite dinner. Mac and cheese with extra breadcrumbs, and sat at the table alone. I placed the bunny on the chair beside me. I told it stories the way she used to. I said, "Tomorrow things will change." The bunny didn't respond, but I felt better saying it out loud. I couldn't sleep. I kept replaying moments in my head. Her last birthday. My parents gave her a coloring book while my niece got a smartwatch. Christmas, she got socks, her cousin got a tablet. I'd brushed it off for years, telling myself they were just old-fashioned. But this wasn't forgetfulness. This was deliberate. The next morning I got a call from the agency. "We've sent someone to the hotel," they said. "We need to verify the situation." I nodded. I didn't ask for details. I just waited. At 9:17 a.m. my phone buzzed again. "They've been contacted," the agent said. "They're confused. We'll keep you updated." I thanked her and hung up. Then I did something I hadn't done in years. I called my sister. She answered on the third ring. "Hey," she said, cheerful. "We're just heading to the beach." "What's up?" "Did you know?" I asked. There was a pause. "Know what?" "That they left her. That they put her in foster care." Another pause. "They said they couldn't handle her." "I thought you agreed." "I never agreed," I said. "I never even knew." She sighed. "Look, Mom said she was acting out. That she needed space. They didn't want to ruin the trip." "She's 8, I said. "She needed her family." My sister didn't respond. I hung up. I spent the rest of the day cleaning. Not because the house was dirty, but because I needed to move. I scrubbed the bathroom tiles, rearranged the pantry, and folded every towel in the linen closet. I found a drawing she'd made, me, her, and the bunny all holding hands. I framed it and placed it on the mantel. That evening I got another call. "They've been temporarily suspended from guardianship," the agent said. "We're reviewing the case." I nodded. I didn't feel victorious. I felt tired. I sat on the porch with a cup of tea and watched the sun dip below the trees. A neighbor walked by and waved. I waved back. I wanted to scream, to tell someone what had happened. But I didn't. I just sat there thinking about the last time my daughter had laughed. It was 2 days ago. She'd made a joke about the bunny being a secret agent. I'd laughed so hard I spilled my coffee. That night I wrote a letter to my parents. I told them everything they'd missed. Her kindness. Her curiosity. Her resilience. I told them how she once gave her lunch to a classmate who forgot theirs. How she saved a ladybug from the sidewalk. How she asked me once if people could be fixed like broken toys. I didn't send the letter. I folded it and placed it in the drawer with the bunny's spare bow. Some things don't deserve closure. Some things deserve silence. The next morning I got a photo from the agency. My daughter holding her bunny, smiling. She'd drawn a heart on her hand. I stared at it for a long time. Then I replied, "Tell her I love her. Tell her I'm coming soon." I didn't know what would happen next. But I knew one thing: she would never be left behind again. Not by me. Not by anyone. And somewhere in Hawaii there was a knock on a hotel door. And behind it my parents were about to learn what quiet consequences looked like. The knock came at 8:42 a.m. sharp and firm. My parents were still in their hotel robes, sipping coffee on the balcony. My sister had just returned from a morning swim with her kids. The agent stood at the door, badge visible, clipboard in hand, voice calm but direct. "Mr. and Mrs. Langford? I'm with Child Protective Services. I need to speak with you regarding a report filed yesterday." My mother blinked, confused. My father stepped forward, his voice tight. "Is this about our granddaughter? We left a note. We didn't abandon her." The agent didn't flinch. "I have the note. I also have documentation of prior incidents. I'd like to ask a few questions." My sister appeared behind them, towel around her shoulders. "Is this a joke?" she asked. "They did their best. She's not easy to handle." The agent raised an eyebrow. "She's 8. Inside the suite the conversation grew tense. My parents tried to explain. They said she'd been acting out, that they were overwhelmed, that they didn't want to ruin the trip. The agent listened, expression unreadable. Then she unfolded the note and placed it on the table. "Sorry, sweetie, we just couldn't take care of her." My mother's face paled. My father stammered. My sister started crying. The hotel manager knocked again, asking them to keep the noise down. The agent nodded and lowered her voice, but the damage was done. The suite felt smaller. The air heavier. Back home my phone rang. It was my sister. "You had no right," she snapped. "You're ruining everything. They're humiliated." I didn't raise my voice. "Did you know?" She hesitated. "They said she was too much. That she needed space." "Did you ever try to know her?" I asked. "Did you ever sit with her? Talk to her?" "She's different," my sister said. "She doesn't fit in." "She's not supposed to fit into your mold," I said. "She's her own person." There was silence. Then a click. She hung up. I stared at the phone, heart pounding. I wasn't angry. I was exhausted. Years of quiet neglect had built up like sediment. Now it was cracking. I walked to the living room and sat on the couch. The bunny was still on the mantel. I picked it up and held it close. Its worn fabric smelled faintly of lavender. I remembered Thanksgiving. My daughter had spilled juice on the table. My mom snapped, called her clumsy. My niece broke a vase minutes later. My mom laughed and said, "Kids will be kids." I'd pulled my daughter aside, wiped her tears and told her she was perfect. She'd smiled, but I saw the doubt in her eyes. That moment came back to me as I packed the bunny into a box. I added her favorite book, a photo of us at the zoo, and a note: "You are loved. You are enough." The agency called again. "We've suspended your parents from future guardianship," the woman said. "Your sister's children are safe, but they're shaken. We're monitoring the situation." I nodded. "Thank you." I didn't feel victorious. I felt tired. But something shifted. A quiet resolve. My daughter would never be treated like that again. Not by them. Not by anyone. I sat at my desk and opened a blank document. I started typing. "Dear Mom and Dad, you missed her first piano recital. She played Twinkle Twinkle with one finger and smiled the whole time. You missed her science fair project. She built a volcano from clay and baking soda. You missed the way she hugs people with her whole body like she's trying to give away all her love at once. You missed her. I told you she was special. You said she was difficult. I told you she was curious. You said she was exhausting. I told you she was kind. You said she was dramatic. You missed everything." I stared at the screen. My hands trembled. I added more. "He loves dinosaurs. She names them. He draws them. She once asked if they had bedtime stories. He believes in kindness. She gives her lunch to classmates who forget theirs. She saves bugs from sidewalks. She asks questions that make me think harder than I ever have. You missed all of it. I didn't send the letter. I printed it, folded it, and placed it in the drawer with the bunny's spare bow. Then I lit a match and watched the copy burn in the sink. Some things don't deserve closure. Some things deserve silence. That night I sat on the porch again. The stars were out. The wind was soft. I thought about the beach in Hawaii. I imagined my parents sitting in silence, my sister scrolling through her phone, her kids asking questions they couldn't answer. I didn't feel sorry for them. I felt sorry for the version of me that used to beg for their approval. That used to shrink herself to fit their expectations. That used to believe love had to be earned. My daughter taught me better. She taught me that love is loud and messy and unconditional. That it doesn't come with conditions or vacation schedules. That it shows up even when it's inconvenient. I looked at the bunny now sitting beside me. I whispered, "She's coming home soon." And somewhere in Hawaii the waves kept crashing. But the vacation wasn't the same anymore. Because when you leave behind someone who trusts you, the ocean doesn't wash away the guilt. It just echoes it. And that echo was growing louder. The wind rustled through the trees as I whispered to the bunny, "She's coming home soon." I didn't move from the porch. I just sat there letting the quiet settle around me. The next morning I drove to the foster center with her favorite pancakes in a paper bag and the bunny tucked under my arm. I didn't know what she'd say. I didn't know if she'd cry or stay silent. But I knew I had to show up. She spotted me before I even stepped through the door. Her little legs sprinted across the lobby, Bunny clutched tight in one hand, her other arm wide open. I knelt down just in time to catch her. She didn't ask about Grandma. She didn't ask why. She just said, "Can we get pancakes?" I nodded, my throat too tight to speak. That smile, small, tired but real, was everything. We sat in the car, syrup dripping from her fingers, crumbs on her lap. She talked about the lady who gave her crayons, the boy who liked space, and how she missed her dinosaur books. I listened, nodding, letting her words fill the silence that had lived in our house for days. She didn't mention the note. She didn't ask why she'd been left. She just wanted to be with me. That weekend I packed a small bag and drove us to the coast. No plans. No itinerary. Just sand, water, and space to breathe. She built crooked sandcastles and gave them names: Captain Bunny's Fort, Dino Tower, Mom's Castle. I watched her laugh, her feet kicking up wet sand, her hair tangled in the wind. We buried the bunny in the sand just for fun. She said, "This is better than Hawaii." I agreed. We stayed until sunset. She wrapped herself in a towel and leaned against me, her eyes half closed. "Can we come here every year?" she asked. "Just us." I kissed the top of her head. "Every year," I promised. And that was the beginning of our own tradition. No flights. No fancy hotels. Just a beach, a bunny, and the two of us. 3 weeks later my sister showed up at my door. I didn't expect her. He held a book about dinosaurs and a bag of cookies. Her face was tight, unsure. "I was wrong," she said. "I didn't know how bad it was." I didn't say anything. I stepped aside and let her in. My daughter peeked from behind the couch, bunny in hand. My sister knelt down. "Hi," she said softly. "I brought you something." He held out the book. My daughter took it, cautious. "Do you like dinosaurs?" my sister asked. My daughter nodded. "I like the ones with spikes." My sister smiled. "Me too." We sat at the table. My sister talked about her kids, about how they'd asked where their cousin was. She said she'd told them the truth. That Grandma and Grandpa had made a mistake. That sometimes grown-ups don't act like they should. I didn't forgive her. Not yet. But I let her sit with us. That was a start. A few days later my daughter came home from school with a folded paper in her backpack. "It's my hero project," she said, handing it to me. I opened it slowly. There was a drawing, me, her, and the bunny. Above it, in big letters, "My hero is my mom." I read the paragraph beneath it. "She never gave up on me. Even when other people did. She makes me pancakes and tells me I'm brave. She's my hero." I stood in the kitchen holding that paper, tears slipping down my cheeks. She saw me. She saw everything I'd tried to be. I folded the paper and placed it in the drawer with the bunny's spare bow. Every time I doubt myself I read it. It reminds me that love doesn't need permission. It just needs presence. One night, after brushing her teeth and tucking in the bunny, she climbed into bed and pulled me close. "I'm glad you're my mom," she whispered. I kissed her forehead. "I'm glad you're my daughter." She smiled and closed her eyes. I sat beside her until her breathing slowed, until the room was filled with the soft rhythm of sleep. We didn't need Hawaii. We didn't need their approval. We had each other. And that was more than enough. The next morning she asked if we could go back to the beach. I said yes. We packed sandwiches, juice boxes, and the bunny, now wearing sunglasses. She built another castle, this time with a moat. "This one's for heroes," she said. "Only people who don't give up can live here." I watched her from a distance, the sun casting golden light across her face. She was healing. Slowly. Quietly. But she was healing. And so was I. That evening, as we drove home, she sang a song she made up about bunnies and volcanoes. I laughed. She laughed harder. The car filled with joy, the kind that doesn't ask for permission. We pulled into the driveway. She ran inside, bunny in hand, already planning our next beach day. I stood outside for a moment, looking at the sky. It was clear, calm, peaceful. And for the first time in a long time I felt it too.